England, more than 300 years ago. New England, unexplored and unknown, for here were rock-bound coastlines, uncharted waters that challenged the skill of sailing masters in search of harbors. And here that met the ocean, rivers with powerful currents and menacing rapids. But here too were rivers that man could harness and rivers that man could use for roadways. Here were the hills, covered with forests of pine and spruce and ash, raw material for building. And here was the soil, New England soil. Then industry began when the first settlers turned carpenters, put together 4 walls and a roof, and farming began with the plowing of the first stony field, the planting of seed, and the patient tilling of rugged earth. The woods, the rivers, and the hills gave up their animal life. But when population increased, fur-bearing animals became scarce, and so the colonies turned to the sea. Turned to the sea for another product of tremendous commercial and economic value, fish, mackerel and cod, found in richly stocked banks along the coast. Fish in abundance to supply enough food which the soil refused to give. Fish for trade and export. Fishing, in turn, created another new industry, shipbuilding. Oak and fir from the forests went into sturdy ships for fishing. Whaling ships, ships needed to explore new and distant fishing banks. Ships for the expanding coastwise and foreign trade. The infant colonies were growing in commercial and economic importance. Colonial merchants sent shiploads of dried cod, grain, staves and headings for hogsheads to West Indian plantations. Received in turn cargoes of molasses for the manufacture of rum, New England rum for export. And by way of the West Indies, ships sailed to Europe, returned with manufactured goods and articles of luxury. The colonies of necessity were engaged not in large-scale manufacturing, but in the production of goods from natural resources. And then in the colonies, in 1,000 different localities, in the home, then in small shops, there began an era of individual craftsmanship. For New England was at work, finding new ways to meet the economic needs of its people, laying the foundation for mighty industries of the future. Men worked with hides and turned them into leather, leather for boots, for shoes, for harnesses and saddlebags. Shipbuilders called for rope, rope for rigging and for tackle, rope for the ships of trade and commerce. The housewives were busy with spinning and weaving, drawing thread from wool and flax, and weaving it into fabric for articles of clothing. And in every settlement, throughout the length and breadth of the industrious colonies, the anvil and the forge rang with the song of metal upon metal, metal transformed into tools for industry, metal for the tools of the craftsman and the artisan, metal for manufactured goods. New England became the workshop of the newly born nation. On the banks of its rivers, settlements arose, for here was transportation for materials and supplies. And here was water power to drive the mills, power for the new factories. Out of the shop, the mill, and the factory came the beginning of a long list of manufactured goods turned out by colonial craftsmen. Inventive genius turned its talents to problems of manufacturing and industry. At the end of the 18th century, Eli Whitney, already famous for his invention of the cotton gin, changed the entire concept of factory operations and established new standards of accuracy and precision with his development of gauges, jigs, and fixtures, by which similar operations could result in the production of any number of absolutely uniform parts. With each passing decade, New England increased in economic stature and importance. Population grew, and towns expanded into cities. A new kind of transportation began in 1826 with the first railroad in the United States, using 2 miles of track to carry granite for Bunker Hill Monument. The 19th century saw the development of a new kind of power, power from steam to drive the wheels of industry. And the network of steel rails spread wider across the New England scene, replacing the need for river transportation. As the railroad grew, so grew New England. And so today, from a rich background of manufacturing tradition and honest craftsmanship, of adaptability to its natural industrial location, and of diversity of production, modern New England emerges even more boldly on the industrial and economic horizon of the nation. Today in New England, as in the past, its 19 principal rivers contribute water for the use of industry. Abundant water, pure and soft. Water for the textile, paper, rayon, bleaching and canning industries. There is power in this great industrial center. Power generated by steam plants at tidewater. Power generated by hydroelectric plants. In this compact manufacturing area, power costs are low. Low in cost because transmission lines are short and line loss is held to a minimum. The interlocking system of power lines assures continuous service regardless of plant breakdown. Power in any emergency, dependable power, power that reaches into every community to meet every demand of industry. Today, as in the past, sheltered deepwater harbors continue to give a tremendous industrial advantage. From strange lands beyond the seas, from lands below the equator, from all over the world come cargoes of raw materials. The forests and fields of the world, the plains and the plateaus, supply a wealth of materials for manufactured goods. Rubber, wood pulp, and wool in bales. Sugar, hides, and cotton in bales. Sisal and hemp, and 1,000 other supplies. Today, the railroad keeps pace with the rapid tempo of industrial activity, moving raw materials and finished goods with ever-increasing efficiency to meet the demands of expanding industry. Upon the railroad falls the burden of moving the bulk of supplies into manufacturing centers. Raw materials into the classification yard at Cedar Hill, New Haven, trainloads of steel, iron, copper, aluminum, leather and hides, and fuel for power. Raw materials classified and re-forwarded to Providence, Boston, and other focal points of manufacture. For uninterrupted production, the big factories and the little factories, the small mills and the large, look to dependable railroad service for a continuous supply of raw materials. Today, New England's industrial strength lies in the skill of its artisans and craftsmen, men trained to expertness through generations of specialization. Here is the highest concentration of skilled labor in the nation. Here is reserve industrial manpower for production of fabricated high-quality manufactures. Here are the machinists, the tool makers and mechanics. Here are the electricians, the engineers and millwrights, and here are the men to work the metals. Metal for modern precision tools, raw metal treated, twisted, hammered and forged into tools for 1,000 uses. Metals for chucks and taps and dies. Metals for presses, lathes and drills. Metal for machines that work the metal. Machines that roll and press and forge the steel, iron, copper and brass into manufactured goods. Metals for machines of unbelievable skill. Machines that cut and grind and polish. Machines that perform miracles of modern mass production. Today, the national importance of this center of industry is based on its diversity of manufacture, and products from its plants, shops, and factories are closely linked with American industrial, business, and family life. Scarcely a factory or shop exists that is not equipped with some New England-made machine, tool, or implement, and hardly a home is without one of its products. For throughout the civilized world, the trademarks of this manufacturing area signify excellent workmanship and honest value. For the fine products of wool and cotton, of silk and rayon, the nation still looks to New England. At Uxbridge, at Southbridge, at Thompsonville and Salesville, at New Bedford and Fall River, at many another city, are the mills and the power looms, the dyers and the finishers, and the allied textile industries. Wool into blankets, clothing, upholstery, and insulation. Cotton into printed cloth on complex presses. Cotton into sheets and pillowcases, curtains and wearing apparel. Cloth and fabric into dresses, threads and ribbons and hosiery. Wool and cotton and rayon and silk into thousands of different articles for the families of the nation. Wool, too, for the rug and carpet industry. Wool transformed into exquisite patterns by power looms of intricate design, twisting and weaving with fascinating rhythm and speed. An old colonial industry brought up to date. Leather and hides are long familiar products. Leather for the belts of industry, leather tanned, curried, and finished. Leather, too, for boots and shoes of every size and description. Footwear made in one of the world's greatest shoe-producing centers. Pure soft water is available in abundant quantities. Water for quality paper and allied industries. Raw materials and supplies are within easy reach, and a temperate climate with ideal humidity conditions lends a helping hand in this complicated industry, which produces paper for books and boxes, paper for labels and specialties, paper for the publishers and printers. The brass and copper industry, founded by colonial craftsmen for the making of brass buttons and copper kitchenware, today prides itself on having the largest plant in the world. Buttons and kitchenware are still to be had, but now the industry manufactures more than 100,000 other brass and copper products for household and industrial use. And for the building industry, linoleum in up-to-date designs for attractive home interiors, roofing, building paper and asphalt, shingles of composition and asbestos, insulating materials and weatherproofing, every type of quality product for the builders of modern homes. New England builds the clocks and the watches that keep time for the nation, builds the speedometers and tachometers, recording instruments and automatic counters for the special needs of industry. Carrying on old traditions are the silversmiths of Providence and Meriden, Taunton and Wallingford, and many other cities. Fine silver and cutlery for the tables and the kitchens of the nation. Silverware and plateware of worldwide reputation. From New Britain, Stamford, and New Haven come hinges, locks, and door checks, manufactured by long famous names in industry. Special builder's hardware for an endless list of uses. Quality products, fine precision products. Gun making calls upon the skill of men who know metals, highly specialized workmen who are at their best in solving the intricate problems of a fine craft that increases in perfection and in national importance with each passing year. The very nature of New England's closely knit industrial organization, its abundance of skilled labor, special machinery, materials and metals, well adapted to the manufacture of countless small metal parts for electrical appliances, radios, motors, sewing machines, telephones, and typewriters. Here is the modern counterpart of Eli Whitney's gauges, jigs, and fixtures, which make possible interchangeability of standardized parts, essential to mass production methods. Wings of commerce and defense, manufacturing on a dramatic and spectacular scale in the factories of Bridgeport and Hartford. The airplane industry demands the skill of a tremendous variety of precision workmen, men trained in 100 crafts to plan and design, to build and use the tools, to form the metals and the fabrics, men with long experience in mechanics and machinery, men who know precision instruments. Down through 300 years of shipbuilding have come old traditions now carrying on in the building of mighty ships for defense of the nation, swift new watchdogs of the sea. Sturdy hulls of oak have long since given way to sturdier hulls of steel, steel hulls for the Navy, and steel hulls too for ships to carry on foreign trade. Rope making is still a part of shipbuilding, but newer methods have replaced the old. Rope spun by machine, rope and cordage for an increasing variety of industrial uses. Rope for the modern ships that go down to the sea. Pleasure boats and sailing craft, looked upon with admiration and respect by sailors and landlubbers alike. Ships too for the fishing industry, modern trawlers, equipped with complex, up-to-date facilities. From humble beginnings, commercial fishing has grown to ranking importance, and every day, trawlers unload more than 70 varieties of fish at Boston Fish Pier, the largest fish pier in the world. Today's catch, packed in ice and shipped by railroad, finds itself on tomorrow's dinner tables in cities far from the sea. Today, New England is at work, carrying on with modern efficiency the old established industries, adapting itself to the new. Scientific research, always testing, always checking, cooperates with industry. World-famous technical and commercial laboratories, colleges and universities look to the future for bold new industrial ventures, look to the future for new specialized industries adapted to this favorable manufacturing environment. From instruments of research have come plastics molded into articles for the automobile and the home, the electrical, building, and numerous other industries. Already these new manufacturing enterprises are in full operation, equipped to process the raw materials that have emerged from laboratory experiments. Out of the shop, the mill, and the factory come the products of New England national reputation, rolling off production lines in a never-ending stream. Quality, precision products ready for distribution and consumption in the markets of the world. Markets closely linked with New England by fast and modern railroads, bringing together producer and consumer in the quickest possible time. New England's natural location is an undeniable industrial advantage, for within a 500-mile radius are important economic factors: population, manufacturing, distribution facilities, and wealth. Within easy reach by dependable transportation are all the necessities for manufacturing enterprise. Close at hand are the suppliers to industry, sources for tools and equipment, materials, and service. The map of the United States takes on new proportions when observed from the manufacturing and distributing point of view. For within a 500-mile radius are more than 38% of the total population of the country, the nation's greatest market area. 49% of all manufacturing plants, 54% of all industrial salaries and wages, 63% of income taxes, and 70% of the nation's savings deposits. Important advantages for business and industry. New England, soundly built and soundly developed, where brain power and manpower pool their skills to mutual advantage, where 150 years of banking and financing experience are ever ready to meet the needs of industry and business, alert to present-day request to the promise of the future. New England, where government, sanely liberal government, looks with open mind at business and industry, not as a source of taxation, but as a source of employment and wealth. New England, where cooperative government looks with understanding at the problems of industry. New England, workshop of the nation, turning every kind of raw material into manufactured goods, quality products of skilled labor, men with times of experience in different crafts, shops, mills, and factories pouring out a wealth of products, products shipped on rolling wheels to the far corners of the nation. Manufactured goods of worldwide reputation, carried and distributed by the New Haven Railroad, serving busy New England. Products for the home and farm, praise of American life. Men at work on New England products, mastering metals and machines, lending hands in friendly spirit, feeling bonds of understanding. This, all this, is New England.